Islam and greetings, Moors. Welcome. Welcome back to another episode of Pardon the Interjection. I am your host, Supreme L. Here on Pardon the Interjection, we dig up information in efforts to help the people. Knowing that humanity has fallen, our mission is to uplift fallen humanity. In these trying times as we are, I know many people are quarantined, as they say, with this coronavirus thing going on. I do urge all my people to do their best to stay safe. We have a special guest that's going to be coming on today, and it's always an honor and a blessing to have this good brother on. There's a lot of things we need to put on the table and get established and put out there on the record, for the record, as far as the family. It's just, we have to navigate in these times, and at times it may seem bleak. Some people are not working. Some people are not keeping up with their health. We're going to do our due diligence to alleviate some of that. All will be well. All is going to be well. Again, I want to thank you for joining me. It's always an honor and a pleasure for the family to join me. We're going to get our guests on right here shortly. But first, again, I want to say, please, 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 do your best to remain positive in a negative situation, because there's a lot of things that's not really true. Falsehood is running rampant out here today, and to move and navigate through the waves of lies, we have to find truth. Truth is there. We shall find it. It will be there. We just have to, again, navigate the waves of lies. There's going to be some interesting points here on today's show. I advise you all to get your pens, pencils, crayons, and pads and paper. So we're going to go and have our distinguished guest on as I get him on the line here. Peace. Greetings, family. We have on the line the most distinguished brother I know and have the pleasure of bringing on to this show, Brother Aseer, Prince Aseer, the Duke+Sis. How you doing,
brother? Thank you, man.
Brother, it's always a pleasure having you on, brother. You just do know.
I appreciate it.
How's the family in this crazy time that we're in?
You know, man, we just gotta staying away from all of the extraneous craziness that's going on.
Indeed.
Right, man. How everybody is content on leaving that of people who have consistently tried to exterminate a people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Have our best interest in mind. So I don't believe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, people are subject to believe what they want, so we gotta support them, even if that means we're supporting their own enslavement.
Right. Right. Agreed. Agreed. And I definitely follow you on that, brother. Being here at Washington D.C., or what's being called Washington D.C., so-called nation's capital, I see a lot. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of our people just, falling for the banana and tailpipe. And one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about is I see that the so-called administration, Donald Trump and the House and Senate and all that, which is occupying our true government, has passed a $2.2 trillion so-called care package that they want to drop on the people. Can you elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Um, Essentially, this whole thing, as it was scripted back in the days, according to, if you read books like Edge of Darkness by Dean Combs, and if you read, I forget the other book, but it's a chick named Emily. I want to say Emily Dickinson, but don't quote me. But she wrote a book about the thing too. And in that, they basically talked about Emily something. And in both of those books, they basically described how swift this thing was going to come through and how swift it was going to go. Because essentially, this is the time. I believe Mars is squaring Capricorn right now.
Okay.
Something like that is going on astrologically, and when things like that happen, there's always a means for these people who follow astrology almost to the letter to pick up what they want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so the package that they're doing, is basically a means to promote or facilitate all of the extra. Thank you. For his extra stuff going down, you know what I mean? Right. So this stimulus, this package is there. Like what they do, they have an agenda. So if the agenda is, well, let's look at the basic grassroots of what's really happening.
Right.
What's really happening is that Caucasian, or what the people we consider white, WIGH, white people, the phenotypically people who they erroneously refer to as Caucasian, which means Caucasus Asian, which means an Asian that was set apart, right?
Right.
This thing is going extinct. It's done. It has no genetic efficacy to bring itself into the future anymore because of the recessive trait of the actual RH factor that these people were born with.
Right.
Okay, so the fact that everybody else that is melanated does not have RH factor, but everybody that isn't does, says then that we are the same species, but we are a different branch of that. You understand?
Right.
We're the original branch. So from the original branch, we live through everything. So one of the subvariants of this pseudo virus, they calling it, is a malaria component, but we've been immune to malaria since the Triassic period. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Before anybody was here, it was just us. So we have a natural affinity or immunity to something, and now that the sun is reaching its vibratory frequency, it's we don't know how it feels on them. We just assume that the sun feels the same on everybody's skin, but it don't. Wow. And so these people are naturally breaking down from this situation. You understand? So they have to do something to halt the eventual extinction level event that they are that they have passed the tipping point in. You can research this online. This is not something I'm making up because I don't like white people. This is actually a scientific fact that has been put out by the majority of stations like the Journal of American Medical Association, the CDC, the John Hopkins group. Everybody is talking about this.
Right.
So because Caucasian people or the people we call WYGHT whites are basically out, that means then they're not going to be able to control nothing no more. So if that's the case, then they have to do and halt. Yes, they have to halt this natural occurrence as long as they can. Right. So what they got to do is get us to believe that we're affected the same way they're affected.
Right.
What they have to do is create different aspects of it. Remember, when this thing came out, it was called coronavirus. Then somewhere in between, then they started using the term COVID-19.
Right.
Kind of halfway through, so because they're using both interchangeably, right? Everybody thinks it's the same thing, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So we, Moors, invented or created the religion of Islam. I'm not talking about the universal practice that we've always been in. I'm talking about when things got so heavy on the third dimension, that we had to start to create religions for the people infected with the RH recess factor to be able to be brought into the human family.
Right.
This is why we had to chain these people to Qurans. This is why we had to we had to put those people who consider themselves Muslims, who are Moors, you know that there's a practice called the hoodoo, right? And that's when you wash before you pray. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that one of the yardstick of civilization, right? When people say, if I was to ask you what you think the yardstick of civilization is, what would you say?
Well, I would say, just speaking of terms of us, I mean, it all goes back to us. That's what I would say.
Right, but if I was to say, okay, well, some people would say law, right? Some people would say community. Some people would say ideology, right? No, it's none of those things. The yardstick of civilization is soap. That's what separates us from everybody else, because we're the only beings on the planet that developed a way to clean our bodies in such a way to ward off any type of disease.
I see that, Moor. I see that.
Anybody that ever saw the movie Fight Club, right?
Right.
In the Fight Club, he lived on what? Paper Street, right? He lived at 13 Paper Street. 13 Paper Street. Right? And what did they do? They created soap. But how did they make the soap?
Out of dead carcass.
They made the soap from the rendered fat of dead people.
Wow. Okay.
Now, when we talk, now, you know how people would have, when people would have battles, like wars, and then after the war is done, everybody's on the battlefield dead?
Right.
What would happen was, most battles would either happen, if they were equal, they would happen either in places there was a mass valley, or they would happen in places that were high up, or on peaks and stuff like that, or on hills.
Right. I see that in one of the movies, Braveheart. They would fight in that big valley.
Yes, or they would be fighting in hill, or they would fight on hillsides,
right?
Like that, right? Like the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Right. Exactly.
Right. When you look at that painting has all the Caucasian people fighting, right? Holding up the red flag with the white canton and the green star, which represents what? The continental flag. And then in the right hand corner, you see a white slave protecting a black man. Look at that. Go pull up the painting of the Battle of Bunker Hill, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. What would happen was, after these bodies would be died and start to decompose, they would actually start to ooze a resin or a chemical that would actually leach itself into the dirt and then form a foam deposit at the end of where the stream and the thing would meet. And then the old ones would come and scoop that up and basically use it as a means of washing, right? And creating what we call soap, right? Because rendered from the fat of people or things that are not things. Now, nowadays, they may not do that. We don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
However, if you understand the cosmetic industry, all they use is human components in that stuff that they put on.
Right, right. Because that brings you back to
they
when
put
it.
collagen, which comes from people
Right.
and stuff. They put aborted fetuses in it. They put animals. They put whatever in it.
Yeah.
Placenta. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
We used to be able to go to the hair store. That's why my queen told me. The queen used to be able to go to the hair store and they used to sell the placenta henna.
Wow. Wow.
I was tired of seeing a lot of human-based artifacts in cosmetics that they kind of, with dermatologists, you'll learn that they use certain wording to hide what's actually being used. So a lot of aborted fetuses, a lot of, it actually will allow your hair. This is why, these Caucasians actually eat babies and siphon energy from infants, because it will prolong your skin life. It will prolong, because you're actually engendering something that was alive. And it's unfortunate that that's where henna comes from. That's where perms come from. Even right now, there's a lot of women that are suffering from fibroids based on hair extensions, because the wigs and the hair extensions are inundated with a chemical that comes from a decomposed organism, and it affects us really, really poorly. It will start to calcify all the energy around our temporal lobe or on our head. So when you skate back or scalp someone that's used a perm for at least 2 years, you'll find that there's a white film or green film
on the skull.
And it's not to say this is the only reason why, but it's just to create an alternative to say, wow, we can use henna for dyeing our hair, but we can also use hibiscus, and we can also use coffee. We can also use other things that allow our longevity. But yeah,
that's exactly why she.
Wow.
That's why she did the Cordoba.
And we want to give thanks. We want to give thanks for the sister. We want to definitely give. That was for the family. That was an honor of hearing from the good sister, Celina Cordoba L. And we thank you for that, mother. Thank you for that.
Sitting in the sun, I'm eavesdropping. So thank you.
No, please. We love to hear from you. We love to hear from you. Yes, ma'am.
And the eyelashes and the extensions, it definitely beautifies women and makes them feel better. But the antithesis result is having, your eyelids will start to puff over the time. Your lids will become
cataracts.
You can suffer from cataracts.
Wow.
And so even though these things are great looking and they accentuate beauty, what's interesting is they put other things in beauty products that will decompose original women quicker than Caucasians, based on our biochemistry, where our melanin and the way that we absorb vitamin D is a lot different. So we can't necessarily follow the same beautifying routines, because it will destroy us. Like a lot of women are suffering from, when you itch your eye a lot and your eyes get a little puffy, sometimes women aren't paying attention. It's the eyelash glue.
Or the glue in the weave.
And the glues in the weaves. But more so, figuring out why, this is happening to us on a global scale. It's really just based on insecurities, based on people not feeling confident enough. Because unfortunately, a lot of melanated men will choose women that are lighter than a paper, they're still light-skinned women, and that's not bad. Light-skinned women are gorgeous and great. Not hating on light-skinned women at all, but based on the history of our people, mulattoes and light-skinned women were used against black-skinned women to make us feel as though we needed to, it's like in that TV show on Netflix, right? What's the show with the woman with the hair products? I forgot the name of it. It's a Madam C.J. Walker biop. But, even in watching things like this, they kept out all the negative and all the bleaching things. It's great that we're redefining our story. We're redefining the role these women played. But Madam C.J. Walker, she also was awarded with a lot of money because she
was down with Rockefeller and these niggas, and was down with the Harlem Renaissance that Rockefeller was paying.
And these were Eastern stars.
These were Eastern stars that Boulay.
And they somewhat inundated and took over.
They wanted to be the ones to get rid of the other the so-called Republican black economy that was thriving throughout the nation. Greenwood and It wasn't just Black Wall Street. You had that all over the country.
Wow.
But they needed the Harlem Renaissance. They no longer wanted so-called black people or Moors to follow people who were trained to be that. They only wanted black people to follow people who were either artists or entertainers or some sort of thing that would be dependent on the same system, because then they would have a viable means to keep them plugged in
right.
through the consumerism, through
right.
the capitalism. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
and
right.
And it worked. So essentially, what I was saying, like what the Queen was saying, why she established Cordoba Organics, was because of the old ancient recipes that the Moors would do. One of the things that was most important was the need for real organic materials, because those are the things that accentuate our power and beauty.
Mm-hmm.
We break down when we have to use stuff that's made for other people. So if you have diabetes, let's say, and I don't, that means then if they give me medicine that is for a diabetic, that could harm me.
Right.
Because I'm not diabetic. So if they are creating stuff and saying that everybody's the same, but we know we're not on a genetic level, then that means what they're giving me that's only good for them could actually be a detriment to me.
Mm-hmm. However,
melanin, the higher self, Allah, is so beneficial and merciful in its wisdom that it is hyper adaptive. So if this is all I gotta eat, which is this pork, then my melanin is gonna process it in a way that I can still subsist from it and hopefully create the mind pattern in the species psyche to be able to produce a generation that will no longer eat it.
Right, right.
And that's us. You see what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Because
indeed.
that's not what we started doing. This is what was imposed and enforced on us.
Right.
So it's the same thing with this so-called virus. Like a vaccination is somewhat different than an inoculation.
Mm-hmm.
But they act like they both the same thing.
Right.
So, like I said, they started with the coronavirus that you could get rid of just by washing your clothes, washing your hands, and that's it. But somehow it upgraded, right, to this COVID-19. But I got a picture of a train car somebody sent me traveling through whatever state, and the shit got COVID-19 written on the train car.
I've seen that.
If they is spreading, this is how they spreading it.
Exactly, I've seen that, and I do have that picture. I do have that picture.
That's right.
It then on the other end it has Gaia.
Right, and you see Gaia on the side, right?
Yeah, right, right. Craziness,
so
more.
That's my thing. So it can't be something that came out of nowhere when we're dealing with a country that purposely infected people with syphilis, purposely infected people with radiated isotopes, purposely put crack into the neighborhood, purposely gave people syphilis, right?
Right.
Purposely created the Spanish flu, purposely created the swine flu, purposely created that. And the niggas that created it is still walking around like it's all good. So my thing is, if we know who is the one creating these viruses, right? Why is there such a speculation as to where it's coming from?
Right.
That's how you know this whole thing is a big script. And you have to decide what role you're going to play in it, because their role is over. It's already mandated that they're out of here.
Right.
The extinction level event has already hit them. What they're not showing you is that when they talk about these people dying, this is mainly Caucasian people dying.
Right. I've seen that.
It's mainly them. By the droves, by the thousands. Remember, this dude, Bill Gates, wanted to put stuff in the air to block the sun. With the 400 years of the Jubilee, on last true 20 to the 20, right?
Right.
Yeah, so entry of the freedom of the children of Israel, which is us. See, there's the children of Israel, there's the nation of Israel, then there's the tribes of Israel. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when they pulled all of that off, or what they trying to do, we became free. Prophesied that we went through based upon our genetic amnesia as to our true selves that started around 1492. Right?
Right.
So essentially, we're talking now where we're all bets is off. We're free of that karma. So now the only way you could pick that back up is if we engage back with them in their modalities of how they deal with stuff. So to throw us off from that first year for us to understand what that really was, that's when they sacrificed your man Eremias, right? That was March 31st last year.
Right.
So now this year, as we're coming into the year, they sacrifice your man Kobe and his daughter, allegedly, right?
Right.
But when we do the knowledge on the Hebrew word COVID, it translates to Kobe.
Wow.
Which means to raise.
That shit bugged me out.
Wow.
Burn.
To destroy.
Destroy.
Wow.
Yeah. So now so now again you gotta understand, when you're dealing with these beings, right, they have engendered our people to believe them above everything else. So it doesn't matter that there was a cartoon that came out 6 years before his death, in which he's in the cartoon crashes in a helicopter. You see what I'm saying?
Really?
It's no, yeah, look it up. There's no, exactly.
You know, it's funny. That's funny because you said it, because even with this, they got, I guess, going circling on the internet and the Facebook and all that, seen a couple of posts where they had on The Simpsons, the newscaster was talking about the coronavirus. What the hell?
Not only that,
in '93.
they came out with an action figure on Kobe with a helicopter propeller coming out of his head.
Wow.
Look it up. It's on my Facebook. I can go on my Facebook, but I can't leave no messages because they banned me for another month.
Wow.
But essentially, he's got a helicopter action figure with a helicopter propeller coming out his head.
Wow.
Okay? Not to mention that the very spot where this helicopter allegedly went down was directly in the midsection of the constellation of Hydra, which is the snake, which is the mamba.
The black, and brings back to him to the black mamba.
You see? At the same time he dying, he's involved with a case against the big pharma for using the name. So all I'm saying is all of this stuff is by design, because the algorithm and the gematria that they're using is based on a Goetia that our people have no understanding of. And the only of our people that do are the ones that's allegedly dealing with dark magic and things like that. But most of these blacks that's dealing with that don't understand what they're doing. They're basically just incanting a lot of different energy from a lot of different so-called spiritual sources that really are not supposed to be meshed together.
Right.
And then what they're doing, they're creating composite demons based on their desire. You understand? Based on their desire to get whatever they want materially or spiritually, which is not coming from a divine place. So naturally these things become entities, negative, that then now can infest them and everybody else around them. These niggas be playing with these sigils and things like that, but they don't understand that what we understand as magic is really just like the cheat codes for reality. And we, as the first ones in the reality, as we know, time never was when man was not. If ever there was a time that end, then there will be a time that time began, right?
Exactly.
So we know that there never was a time that Allah did not exist, therefore we did not exist. Therefore, a lot of that extra stuff they doing is just extra to be able to grant them power over the physical world.
Right.
But the physical world is the illusion.
Right.
Which is why it can be manipulated so easily by the most vagabond intellect that you can get. Because as much as people don't like this entity, he is serving a purpose.
Right.
And that purpose, for the most part, if you really understand what's going on, is actually looking out for people like us. So long as you're not under him, you know what I'm saying? You have a stake.
Right.
But if you believe the propaganda that comes with what's happening, and the fact that, you know, he hate black people and he hate that and he hate that, he may not. But unless you sit down with that man and speak to him specifically, we can only go by a general understanding that we have on people of that ilk,
Right.
right?
Right.
However, this dude is also a blood Gemini, and for all we know, as Dick Gregory, bless the dead, said, is two of them. You know what I'm saying? This is a nigga born on the eclipse. So these people plan hundreds of years in advance because they have had that time while we've been in this amnesia to be able to purport, to make it happen.
Right. Right. And
However, he's broken down most of the infrastructure of the old United States, believe it or not.
Right.
And again, this is what the so-called revolutionaries said they wanted, right?
Right.
That's what they say they want. But again, be careful what you wish for. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely. Definitely. And that brings me to a point where I want to also speak on it surpassed this place supposed to be, which we know as the Alma Grid. They want to say it is the U.S. has surpassed the cases worldwide now. This is supposed to be the epicenter of the virus now.
That's what they saying, but see, this go back now to stuff that you monitor over time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reports I got was that there was some sort of leak or something at either Fort Detrick or one of these places, and then from there they decided, and it started to go out. And this leak was like sarin. It was like sarin gas,
right.
But it was derivative, but it had the same efficacy. So this thing got out, and some of the soldiers or whatever was infected. Wow. But it just so happens that they was having a military parade or something like that in China, in which different nations was sending their soldiers basically to observe or whatever. And so the story was they sent these people because they was already infected with the thing. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And because China had already put up all the 5G stuff, everybody's immune system was weaker. That's all the 5G thing is there to do, is to weaken humanity's immune system. And while all this was happening, allegedly your boy just passed the 5G bill for them to be able to do it. So if we was to look at the concentration, all you got to do is look at the concentration of all of these people allegedly dying,
mm-hmm.
and then type in 5G receptor placements in that area and see how far I was away from it. It's going to affect the elderly quicker, you know what I'm saying, because of such. And everybody basically said, cool, okay, so if this was popping, this also happened at the time that China said that they was no longer going to accept United States dollars for their goods.
All right.
So naturally, they got to go. And if China got to go, Iran got to go. If Iran got to go, Russia got to go. If Russia got to go, Brazil got to go. Because that's the whole BRICS union thing that basically has been promoting this whole big deck global reset from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When I talked about it on the YouTube maybe 4 years ago,
mm-hmm.
when you first got in. So this has all been building to this point, and everybody's acting like this came from nowhere, but essentially they can't just throw things on people. They gotta bring you into it through incrementalism to make it easy for you to accept. Like in the movie Dark Knight. Remember when the Joker was talking to the dude, and he was like, look, if I say I was going to just kill one little police officer or a couple of cops or whatever, nobody is upset. But the minute I say I'm about to go get the governor and the mayor, the whole city go crazy. Because they, as much as they don't like this situation, they depend on it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so once they feel like the infrastructure of the plantation that they in is breaking down, they panic and they do whatever they going to do. So right now, they setting Andrew Cuomo up to be the president basically after Trump, if he survived it.
Okay.
The president, he's the governor of New York. And the governor of New York, remember when 9/11 happened, they said New York was the capital of what? The world, right?
That's right.
So he's now in a direct battle with Trump because he's coming from the perspective that Trump and them is playing games and they're not giving them the aid and everything they want. So, he's got to step up and be the man of action.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the Democrats actually now have somebody, you see, that everybody can look at and be like, oh, look, he's standing up to Trump. See what I'm saying? But Trump don't like Cuomo because Cuomo and them is down with the whole Democratic industrial military KKK complex that was set up by Thomas Jefferson. The Democratic Party is the same party that nominated the KKK. So all of the so-called Democrats, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Is the ones responsible. Now, this is not saying the Republicans ain't either, because they both fake. But when your man came in, he basically put a smackdown on how the Republicans even did their thing. But remember, he did an interview back in the days where he said, if I was to run for president, I'd just be, and that's what happened.
Wow.
Look it up.
Wow.
See, we know Trump from New York. Like those of us grew up in the 80s, in 80s and 90s in New York, we all familiar with Trump. All these rappers wanted to be Trump.
Wow.
And they all made records about how ill he was. He got pictures with all of these rappers, all of them.
Wasn't he even into like the boxing scene for a while? Even like friends with Mike Tyson,
with
right?
Don King. Yeah, he was with Don King because they would do the battle. They would do the bouts at Trump Plaza.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah. So he know all. They been knew what was up with him. In my opinion, they all knew he was going to be president one day, because that's the script. Like, why wouldn't they? They can't afford things to happen by chance. Chance is an enemy to them. So everything has to be planned out to such a fine degree that it goes to script. And if it don't, that's where the intelligence agencies come in to clean it up.
Wow.
This in government is called statecraft. That's how you run a democracy. Democracies are run through statecraft. But a democracy, according to the original definition, is a government run by demons. That's why there's no of a democracy in the Constitution.
In the Constitution, right.
So that means they got you under a different form of government. That government is run by Washington, D.C., established in 1871, which then done away with all of the original so-called Republican forms of government that existed prior to that. And then any Moors that wanted to have their own land was then attacked and built and killed or whatever. And those Moors that didn't want to go through that either went into exile, right, or joined up with them. Wow. This is where you get those soldiers from. This is where you get the Tuskegee Airmen from. This is where you get the Boule from. You understand? This is where you get all these groups from, because now they're fighting to maintain a system that they fought to get into because they abandoned their own.
All right.
That's why there's no records or real. If you want to get records on the Republic, you got to read the congressional records prior to 1791, because that's where our government is enshrined at.
Right.
And that government still exists. And so when we declare our nationality, as the prophet spoke of, we then put ourselves back under Republican form of government, which then allows us to enforce the Constitution.
And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And again, like I said, brother, it's a lot that we don't know, and a lot that we need to know. And like I said, we appreciate you, putting in the work as long as you are, and as long as you're doing it. You do have brothers like and sisters like ourselves that's going, stay with you on that. Now I know we come down to the last, few minutes, but I want to throw this in there, about the quarantine. Why it's such a, they have a big thing on quarantine and non-essential workers shutting and closing all these places of business down, and I'm one of the fortunate ones.
You gotta make it work. They gotta make it work. They gotta make it. If you're gonna go forward with the lie, you gotta go all out with it. And They want to restructure everything anyway. They actually wanted, there's elements within the United States government that's been working since the Obama administration to get all of these pedophiles and all of these satanic people in the upper 1 to 10% out of any type of political, social, or relative power. And so they're using this as a means to go after and get all of them too. So basically, everybody's using the corona to pop off what they want to pop off.
Okay.
That's time for us to do the same thing, because all the Negroes, all the whites, the so-called laymen, the 85%, they're going to just go with whatever these people tell them.
Right.
Because for the most part, most of our people don't see a reality in which our people can actually be in charge of our own affairs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they would rather keep this dude around as long as possible to do the work for them. But we know the prophet said the opposite. He said, I'm going to keep the European around long enough to show you how to run a government.
Right. Right.
Which basically means I'm going to keep the European around long enough to show you what not to do.
Exactly.
So when you do your thing, it's totally back in the comforts that it's supposed to be in.
Right, and just to speak on the good brother, our prophet, once said, a time will come where you need to at least stock up and hold out for at least a few months. Are we in that time, you think?
Yep. Because everything he done said came to pass. Mm-hmm. And everybody that comes out, and so that's why they come out with different people every so often to try to throw the Moors off and try to get them to doubt their prophet, because the spiritual energy that is created around the Moors to protect us and give us the right sight to see what these people are actually doing.
Facts, brother.
No so-called black organization, Moors or not, have actually come out to the so-called black people to say, hey, this is our collective plan for what our community should do. Not one.
Mm-hmm.
So that should show you, when these people are talking about the ability to do this or that, or what authority do they have or whatever, it shows you that all of that is almost null and void.
Mm-hmm.
It's just talk, because again, when the prophet established the temple, one of the first things he told them was what? You have, each temple is supposed to have what? An emergency fund,
mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
You're supposed to have an emergency fund on top to be able to get all the stuff just in case for times like this. So now, anybody out there that's in the temple or around them, you need to ask their Grand Sheik or whoever, what's the emergency fund? Do we have an emergency fund for our temple? That was one of the prerequisites in the old temple, from what the elders told me.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've read from documentation from that time.
Right.
But these temples don't have that, but they still taking dues and everything from people. Then people need to reorganize what they're doing. And not just with Moors, with any organization.
Right. That's true.
You don't know what the plan for the Sikh community is during this time. You don't know what the plan for the Jewish community is at this time. You know they're being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't really know what the Chinese community is really doing to combat this, or what plan they have, because they have a national identity, but they don't gotta tell everybody what they do. You see what I'm saying? They just take care of their people, however they do.
Right. That's true. So I know. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. No, just that is just like, there's so much facts, bro. So much facts in that, because like we are like, and I'm speaking only in terms of the so-called black people, because we know that we're the only people who does not have no organizations to our organization.
Exactly. And then everybody's set tripping that their organization better than the other person's organization. And if we really look back at the time, this is how the empire fell in the first place. You had all these different taifas, which means like small kingdoms. These was like feudal kingdoms in the empire. And then while we was fighting each other about situations, this is when these Mamelukes and these people started moving up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, same thing happening now, only in reverse. They are now in the decline. They are now falling and doing that. And now they're where we were at 1492.
Mm-hmm.
Only difference is we don't have we're a unified people, but we're still suffering from feudalism and tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so because we have different people with different agendas in our community, that's why nothing moves. Also because most of the leaders in all of these agencies and all these groups is Freemasons. So their obligation is to maintain mankind.
Right.
And we know mankind is not us.
Right. That's right. You're right about that. That's a definite craziness, brother. Well, look, I know we coming down to the last minute. I want to, I want to give thanks to you, brother, because I know it's each time you come on, brother, it's always enlightening and it's a blissful moment for us in time. So there's a beautiful time to be alive, brother.
It is still. because we're actually going to see, or actually witnessing, the change and the fulfillment of the third prophecy of Muhammad, as well as which says that it all goes back to the Moors, goes back to the prophecy that the prophet brought back. No matter how it looked, when things shut down and start back up, they all going to be in the Asiatic favor.
Yes.
And we're those of us that have been faithful to that and have understood it and have acknowledged the fact that we even had a prophet. We even have one. You understand? And the people that are unified and was sent a prophet, if they deny him, then they are part of the apocalypse.
Exactly.
We, who are the faithful, are striving to do the opposite. But this is for anybody, whether they consider themselves Moors or not, whether they consider themselves Asiatics or not. Because there's still an element of us that have been so miseducated that now that the truth's coming out, they believe the lie given to them by the Caucasian. No matter what you tell them, no matter how many times I tell people, the whole Afrocentric movement was established by a book called The Myth of the Negro Past by people like Arthur Hershkovitz and Melville, I forget his name, some other white man, as well as people like in the NAACP, like Joseph Spiegelman, who was an FBI agent who worked very directly with W.B. Du Bois, Peyton Randolph, not Peyton Randolph, A. Philip Randolph, and Ida B. Wells, to establish the NAACP to basically lead to a long-term matter of amalgamation and integration by which we would lose our financial base in the country and eventually become all wards or civilitas mortis to the United States, to be continued to use us as or that they real agreement in us. And now time is over and their time is up. Instead of handing it over, they supposed to try to chance to play with it.
Right. Easy part. So
like a child.
Yeah.
That's how Trump act. He act like a child.
There you go. Right.
But clock right twice a day. So the same way he'll come out and say something negative or whatever, at the same time he'll put in a bill for 115 million or however much money to go to so-called black communities and stuff.
Right.
Now the problem is not him in that instance. Now the problem comes to the black community leaders, that's now the Freemasons, that's now picking apart all of that money before anybody else in the community get it, and then use it to do the bare minimum for us.
Right.
Because they're down with us, they down with them.
Craziness, brother, craziness. All right, so look, we definitely got to do this again, brother. I mean, I know you in your busy schedule. I know you got a lot to deal with, and like I say, we definitely got to do this again. I want to also give thanks to the mother sister. Please tell her thank you for coming on. We want more of that too. Can you put her organics back out there again, brother?
Yes, it's www.cordobaorganics.com. CORDOBA organics.com. Definitely check that. It's the only 100% pure.
I don't use any shea butter in all of my products. Not to doubt shea butter, but I did some research and I found that butters have different healing properties. So shea butter is great, but it's basically a prime-based butter that does heal and moisturize and seal. But with combination butters like horsetail, jojoba, macadamia, almond, calendula, pumpkin seed, those are the staples that really heal keloids and help with eczema and psoriasis. And shea is great, but it's also just you can get shea anywhere and everywhere, but the melting properties and how it works with other herbs, I've noticed over the years, has a different healing quality. It's not as potent or long lasting as other butters, but it is a great alternative if you are getting off of lotions like Lubriderm and Kerry and all these other sealing things, but they're made with mineral oil, lanolin, a whole bunch of parabens and chemicals. And because our skin is the largest organ in our body, we want to consistently be aware that the things we put on our face, on our lips, and on our skin is affecting how our digestive system acts, is affecting our lymphatic system. It's why a lot of women have fibroids or are suffering from miscarriages. even a lot of some lotions over long-term use can cause a lot of small intestinal and large intestinal problems.
Okay.
So just studying this for a while, I wanted to create something that was affordable. Unfortunately, when I looked at certain brands that are $80 and more for a little 2-ounce of face oil, it was disturbing to me because it's just a couple of dry roses and a couple of oils. And I said, why can't I make something that's affordable for us, $20, $15, things that we can afford, but
Yes.
have 10 plus healing oils as well as herbs, no vegetable glycerin, no soy, no safflower oil. I'd explain why on a different day, but those oils aren't really good to put on our skin, even though they're affordable, and it's something that people add as almost like a filler oil. I don't enjoy filler oils or things of that nature, only because after doing research and figuring out that there's other carrier oils that will have a more long-term effect if used with herbs, that's kind of what I wanted to do. So all 40 products are 41 products now. I'm actually adding a hibiscus hair oil today to my website to people that have asked me, hey, how can I correct my gray hairs? We want alternatives other than drying powders like henna and stuff like that, and alternatives to dyes, and just to also celebrate gray hair, but also give people an option if they want to start conditioning their hairs and allowing it to return to its original state.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Pro Organics I'm grateful. There's physical therapy. A lot of the stuff that I've created is based on not finding certain products on the market, and when doing the knowledge to it, they might have 1 or 2 drops of an essential oil, and it's just basically filled with safflower and soy and vegetable glycerin and water or shea. And I wanted to give us something that was really going to affect our skin and allow our skin to glow and really be healed from within. So I'm very grateful. It's taken a couple years, but with each investment of each label and just taking my time, I'm very grateful to have recipes not only that are made with the power of putting little dairy in it, having using in it and you Tibetan circle bottle of the bowl, just the energy of that can teach me crystal infusion therapy. But it's something that took me years to figure out, and it's something so sacred that unless I'm working one-on-one with someone that I feel understands the power of what we're doing, I don't really want, it's to value things that are sacred as well.
Yes.
And unfortunately, social media doesn't allow that, because everybody's in a state of sharing and showing how fabulous they are, and that's great, but it sometimes gives way to stuff that's sacred. And when I learned crystal infusion therapy from an ancient, I decided not only to preserve, but she asked me not to just, want it or share it to that don't have an understanding of true metaphysics and true spirituality. So everything is crystal infused, and with certain crystals, but also just praying over everything I package.
Yes.
I've noticed seal the end. So listening, you guys, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you for letting me interrupt with just a little bit of energy. We're just sitting outside today.
No, our pleasure.
I'm taking out my son's braids, so thank you.
No, our pleasure. We give you thanks, sister. We give you thanks.
Thank you for even having the forum and always inviting my husband on. It really, really is a blessing to our family that allows the work that he does to be heard in other portals. And without you, we wouldn't be where we are as well. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.
And we will have you on, hopefully soon, whenever, to even talk more about the infusion and stuff like that.
I'd be honored. It would be an honor. And what you can do in your own home to create just your own cleansers with some apple cider vinegar or regular white vinegar. You can also use just, eucalyptus, certain things, so we don't have to buy Lysol when it's not shelved. We can just throw some water in a bottle with some vinegar, some lemon, some baking soda, same thing for stinkiness under your arms, some cornstarch, baking, just different stuff that's not gonna destroy us over time. So thank you.
Thank you, sis.
Have a good weekend, the rest of it.
Peace.
And a great week. All right, bless.
Peace, more. Yes, that's beautiful. Hey, brother, it's always, I feel the energy from the sister, man. Definitely.
Please do.
Oh, indeed. So I'm gonna let you get out here and let y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend and your time, and I definitely will be in contact with you, and we definitely got to do this again, Moor.
Indeed, Moor. And again, thank you for allowing us to be on and Everybody, again, check out CordobaOrganics.com. Check out www.aseertheduketeers.com. You go to gumroad.com and type in Aseer the Duketeers in the search. A lot of classes stuff will come out. Anyway, I can check me out on YouTube and on Facebook under the name Aseer Ali Cordoba. And if anybody wants to hit me up about processes or whatever pertaining to what's going on, or trying to get the individual stuff straight, hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com.
I'll be definitely hitting you on that one too, Moor.
Islam, Moor. That'll be great. Inshallah.
Peace, Moor.
Islam. Peace.
Islam.
Peace to you and family.
Well, of course, that was a good one. What more can I say, family? Always a blessing having a brother on. Like I say, until next time, family, Islam, peace, and love forevermore.